What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and Most of all Happy podcast. As always, I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
Coming at you strong with that daily dose of Motivation Monday. Well, I guess that weekly dose. And you know, if you're new around here, we like to kick it off with some quotes. If you've been around, you know we come with the killer quote. So if you ever have a great quote to share with us, please hit us up because we get very inspired by them. And you can always send them to us on Instagram to @ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT. But we have two incredible quotes for you this week. So sit back, enjoy, and prepare to be inspired. Kick it off, Kyle.
So this week, my quote is, 20 years from now, you'd give anything to be this exact age, exactly this healthy, in this exact moment. Take a second to enjoy it. Richard Webster. And I came across this, and honestly, I just think it's so powerful because I feel like a lot of times we can spend time thinking about maybe in the future where you say, oh, I'll have a little bit more time, or maybe I'll have a little bit more money, or just you'll have things figured out, like whatever it is. A lot of times I find people just put precedence on the future you, and I know for a fact you're going to look back, and a lot of you maybe already have, and some may not, depending on your age and experiences and everything like that. But I think it's so important to just really appreciate and, you know, just start to think about like where you're currently at, and really, I guess, just appreciate that and enjoy the current moment. And that's going to be my quote for this amazing Monday.
Awesome quote. And that makes me think that I was actually listening to a podcast this week. And in that podcast, it was with this person, Brian Johnson, who's doing a longevity experiment. He's trying to actually reverse his aging process. And he's doing that by like doing everything as perfect as he can based on science. So optimizing every component of his journey. And he had a really good argument. He said, if it comes to technology, if I were to ask you, do you think technology will be better in 20 years? Yes or no? Every single person will say yes. We've seen the advancement. I don't even need to get into that. We know technology is going to continue to advance. We may not be in hover cars or anything like that, but it is going to get better. Whereas if I were to say, hey, you as an individual 20 years from now, are you going to be better? Are you going to be healthier? Are you going to be fitter? You're going to say absolutely with confidence, no. People just assume from the day we're born, we start dying every single day. And it's a grim view, but it's something we all accept and normalize. And it's a good reminder to say, how can I work against that? And it's nothing wrong with aging. It's part of our experience and part of what happens. But we do want to reflect on that fact that it's not going to get easier for us. It's going to get harder. Your hormones start to like dilute a little bit down. You have a little less energy, a little less vigor. You don't have that bounce you may have had when you're younger. So it's a good reminder to do everything you can to stay your fittest, your healthiest, and your happiness. And I think this quote is a great memory of that. And even right now, if you're not where you want to be, you may still have your youth, but you'll also have way more youth than you will tomorrow. So that's always a good reminder to make the most of it, to control what you can control, and keep that in the back of your mind. So I thought that was a perfect segue into something I guess I heard. So a little bit early on the thoughts, but something I wanted to share. Now into my quote. It's a very simple one, but I love it. Challenges are what make life interesting, and overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. This is from Joshua J. Marine, so I guess it was meant to be another Joshua. So what I loved about this is challenge oftentimes, I've said it 1,000 times before, say it one more time, is regarded as a bad thing. It's hard, I'm challenged. We don't like that word. But overcoming it just brings so much reward. Like if you look back to the hard workout you did recently and how good you felt, the horrible home project that nearly killed you that you accomplished, or finishing an essay or an exam or studying for a test, when we overcome those things and we get better, we enjoy that. That's experience. We don't want things just to be easy. We become bored, we become unfulfilled, we have no direction. So instead of running away from challenges, a good reminder that challenges are actually what make life interesting, and it gives us that ability to progress, to move forward, to grow, to develop. And I thought this quote was a great reminder. So once again, challenges are what make life interesting, and overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. And another thing that it kind of just made me think of is that nothing worth having comes easy. Like if you want to do something hard, you got to do something you've never done before. I've said it before, but if there's something you want that is worth doing, it's going to be hard. It shouldn't be expected to be easy. Like it's always uncomfortable overcoming those learning curves, being in that state of discomfort, learning how to grow past that. But it's a good reminder. It's okay if you're new at something, if you're not the best at something. And even me, I like being the best at things. I like being incredible at them. But I've been trying to come more of a mindset of, even if I'm really, really bad at something and it's so foreign to me, it's so horrible, it's an opportunity for me to just get better with that. And I have so much room to grow and develop. And I think that's a great reminder. So once again, don't be scared of challenges. They're great things. Use them to your advantage and use them to help you grow.
And the biggest thing is even ask yourself, like, what type of challenge can I interject into my life right now? And, I think it was Josh that shared this with me before, an individual named Bedros. He's online, just all over the place. Some of you may have seen his videos, but he used to do 6-week challenges, like different types between going and doing a marathon and just like maybe something mental wise, like just little challenges for a certain amount of time. And it's crazy because you don't have to do something for like the rest of your life, but it is amazing what you can accomplish in that time frame. We're actually a month into our summer shred challenge, which is absolutely phenomenal. No drinking for over a month now, which has been phenomenal. And I mean, we'll talk about the benefits in a bit. I'm excited to get to that 2-month mark, so 60 days to share all of them. But even just the steps, like the amount of times that you just on a Sunday, I'm just like, oh, I just want to chill and take it easy. I'm at 5,000 steps in the afternoon. Nope, get out there and go for a walk. So I know there are a lot of challenges people already have in their lives between maybe kids, work, like all this other stuff. But I just truly believe that when you actually add one of these physical challenges that also challenges you mentally, I'm not trying to overload you a ton, but when you fulfill that, you feel unstoppable. You feel absolutely incredible going off of Josh's quote. So I know it's easy to say, hey, I've already got these things, I don't need any more. But when you do something for yourself like this, it's day and night. Like you feel like you can overcome. Now when your kids are challenging you or when your work is challenging you, you're like, well, I've already done this, I'm good to go. So yeah, definitely a great thought and a great quote for this week.
And you might say, I don't have a ton of challenge in my life. I'm very fortunate. Things are really good for me. And that's a time more than ever to just simulate a little bit challenge, because a hard workout is challenging. Getting up on time, not hitting snooze, that's challenging. And that's going to improve that flinch. I've spoken to that before with the benefit of cold showers, is you're doing that thing that sucks and you're removing that flinch, that split hesitation where you're like, I'm going to do that hard thing that I know is going to make me feel better and help me grow. So if you can remove that flinch by simulating challenge, it goes such a long way. Example, we went biking last week. It was really hard for us. Me and Kyle were dying. Our legs were blown up with lactic acid. We weren't in the same biking shape that we were last year. And it's just, we're getting back into that experience. Other people blew by us. That's okay. Like we can't just, if you're always comparing and you're dreading doing anything because you're not going to be the greatest, you're not going to look like you're effortlessly talented at it, you're just going to hold yourself back from having fun new experience. So I think that was amazing how Kyle even mentioned that simulated challenge. I think that's such a good idea. If for 6 weeks you can say, I'm going to start hiking for 6 weeks, or I'm going to learn to rock climb and I'm going to do an intensive for 6 weeks with an instructor, it can be a really fun way to add in new, unique experiences, to really hone in on what you like. After those 6 weeks, you could be like, I hate this sucks, I'm never doing it again. Or maybe you'll be like, this is amazing, I love it. And that's a great way to find new hobbies, passions. And as we go into our thoughts, it's just a fantastic way to stay fit. I've been trying to get back more to my roots. If I think to my childhood, what was really fun for me, what would get me out of bed in the morning, what would be my life that I was too excited to sleep, it was all the amazing sports I'd play and all the different activities I do and things I'd go do with my friends. And it's so easy to say, oh, well, I'm adult now, I can't do those things, or I don't have the time. But it's so easy to just call up some friends and say, hey, you want to go try rock climbing for an hour? We might suck, but it'll be fun. It's a good little experience, going out biking, going out hiking, playing volleyball. Even yesterday, I just brought my basketball to the gym. Really fortunate, I got a sick gym with like an outdoor court. So I just went and shot for 15 minutes and just got a little bit of activity, got some steps, felt fantastic. So if you're having a hard time staying fit and finding something you like, or you're jogging and you hate it, or you're on the Stairmaster, you hate it and it's just boring to you, find new ways to make it unique and exciting. And this has just been an incredible tool for me, and it makes the process really easy. Even for us, one of the components of our summer shred challenge, as Kyle said, we're a month in, the results have been fantastic. I'm feeling phenomenal. I'm loving that it's challenging me physically as well as mentally, and I'm learning more and more about myself by doing these hard tasks consistently. If you looked at the parameters of the challenge, you might say, well, this isn't that hard, I could do that. But the question isn't, can you do that for a day, a week, a month? It's 2 months. You got to keep showing up. And what's nice is when you take away a lot of these things, you can reevaluate your position, understanding with them, and you can kind of have that fresh mindset to make a better choice, which is absolutely amazing. And even for me, knowing I need those steps, I've had to get creative, and I've rekindled some of that passion for trying these different sports and activities and enjoying being busy. Another really good hack I've had, as we are doing a little bit of a shred right now, I'm still trying to maximize strength and go about that intelligently. But one thing that has just been game changing for me, and a good reminder, is I started doing a food cutoff time. So I stopped eating pretty much around 6 p.m. If I needed to eat a late dinner, I would, but it's more so me eliminating that nighttime snack. I got in the habit of just having that extra little thing, 100, 200 calories, and I'd make it fit, but it would just always be that extra little push where I knew I wouldn't need it. And instead, by having that cutoff time, I find I'm sleeping better because I'm not digesting. I'm able to enjoy bigger meals and have really good satiety throughout the day. And it's just been an absolute like game changer for me, and it's been really effective. And if you're feeling a little bit stuck, eliminating snacking is a great place to start. That's where a lot of people do a lot of damage, and that's also where people will be in a weakened state and make bad decisions. Like, I don't have to say it, I'm sure you can relate. A lot of time the day will be amazing, get tonight, maybe you'll have a little snack, and that'll lead to a second snack or an extra portion. And sometimes that little extra 300 calories people are going over, they do that every day of the week. They end up in this just loop of not being successful, wondering why. And you're like, it's only a little bit over, but it's just not enough to not get you where you need to be. But when you remove just that one extra thing, oftentimes that'll tip the scales and get you seeing progress, which is incredibly motivating, and it'll help you continue on stronger. So that's a unique little tip you can try if you want.
And relating to Josh's awesome quote, as well as his talk about the nighttime cutoff time with food, we actually had in this past week with all of our clients in our Facebook group, a small little weekly challenge. We like to add in weekly challenges on top of the consistent criteria, and it was just to avoid junk food. And it's just awesome because you can learn a lot about yourself, right? You just maybe some specific habits that you have, just maybe some foods that you kind of work in that you're actually not, kind of might be deterring you from getting results, like just all these different things. So I thought that was pretty powerful because even myself, I realized, I'm actually totally okay. I don't need all these extra little snacks that maybe I would have. And, maybe we'll have some Quest chips instead of regular chips or whatever it is. So I thought that was a great challenge. And just one other thought, I just thought it was actually pretty insightful, especially speaking to a buddy of mine who has access to a lot of high-level bodybuilders and just professionals in their craft, essentially. And every person does have their struggle no matter what. It's so easy to look at someone online, social media, you see these medals, you see these big smiles, like great physiques and stuff, and think they've got everything made. Everything is perfect. They have no struggle at all. But there's a lot of stuff that just goes into that. Even just high level athletes, like you think like this person's got everything made, everything's so awesome. But it's just a reminder, like no matter who your idol is, no matter who you look up to, I think it's awesome that you have these people that you take little things from. You see someone's work ethic, you see some of their fitness tips or whatever, but just realizing that there's so much more to it, that like it's not always sunshine and rainbows. There's never that time where it's like, man, they're all super happy, everything's awesome, because there are a lot of struggles, especially when you are at a higher level. I do find that there's so much more to lose, and the highs are very high and the lows are very low. And this is just from hearing about people in the space. And it's just a reminder, look at those people, take the inspiration, draw what you can from it, but realize that your life is completely different. Social media, you see these small little clips, a couple second reels, a couple second Instagram stories, like that 1 minute where everything's awesome in the day, that photo. And it's just a little reminder for some of you people.
This was an amazing point. And I always like to say this because very often when someone signs up or when I meet someone, like, I want to look like this person, and they'll show a photo. And I think it's healthy to be motivated by someone who looks phenomenal. But to Kyle's point of everyone being so unique and different, like social media is such a lens. Some people, we were in Dubai and it shocked me. I've never seen anything like it before. We were at dinner. This girl for an hour was editing her photo. She was like changing aspects of it. She was making her arms skinnier. And this girl was so skinny. Like she's the skinniest girl I've ever seen. But for an hour, she was altering this photo to just make it absolutely perfect to put that out. And like that kind of speaks, and it's kind of sad that like, and she looked good. Like she didn't even need to be doing that as the truth, but it is such a set lens and can be so tough. And to my point, everyone, like Kyle said, is so different. In the past, it's like, oh, I want to look like Arnold, but I'm not as tall as Arnold, or I have a different build, or everyone's so different. And I've noticed this especially with girls. Some girls will just be very shapely. They'll have an hourglass figure. They'll have like a wider set pelvis, and there'll be a girl who's very naturally skinny and a little more squared out. And of course you can look better, but you're not going to look like that person who has an entirely different bone structure than you. So it's a good reminder to try and look like the best version of yourself, not like someone else. But you can be motivated by them. You can relate to them. But keep in mind, everyone does have their struggles. Even meeting people that are very successful in this, there's a reason they say be careful what you wish for. I know a lot of people who have blown up really quick, who it's been tough for them. Just recently, actually, we used to watch this powerlifting channel, Masthetics, and one of the individuals from the channel passed away, Garrett. It's incredibly sad. He was very young, and he's a very talented, strong guy. He's a beast. He's actually training John Jones. Like, he did all these things, but I think like success probably just took him a bit, and he had his troubles. I think he stole from his business and got kicked out of med school, and like he ended up overdosing, which is incredibly sad to what I know from what I've seen. So if I'm incorrect on the facts there, don't hold me to that. But I just think it's a good lesson too, that like we should always appreciate our situation. It's healthy to strive for more, but you do want to be careful with relating, because it can be very defeating and inaccurate. And we all have our blessings, our curses. And I always say to Kyle, it's so easy for people to point and say, I'd be fit like you if I wasn't 40, or I'd be fit like you if I didn't have 6 kids, or I'd be fit like you if I had 2 limbs. But for every person who's making that and trying to compare who's more hard done by, there's someone out there getting after it. I mentioned it before. There's a girl at my gym. She's got 1 arm. She trains freaking harder than most people in there. She's in there every day, and I respect the heck of it. No excuses, doing what she needs to do. And I'm like, this is someone who could make every excuse in the world. She's in there getting it done, beasting it out. And like that sets a standard to me. It's like, it's so easy to try and say, I'm more hard done by, this is going on, but you really just need to look at your situation, good or bad, push through it, learn to cope with it, and you'll find a lot more peace in trying to be someone else, relating to other people, resenting people, and that's where social can be a little bit tough. So I know it's a little bit of a whole thing, but that's why we have the thought segment of this podcast. So we do hope you enjoy it. If you're here watching us on video, we just want to say what's up, and if you can comment gains down below, it'll let us know you've seen it. We'll know you're part of the YouTube gang, which is absolutely awesome. And if you're listening on audio, we love you just as much, don't worry, but unfortunately you can't comment just yet. But if you haven't left a review, you could go ahead and do that, and that would mean the world, whether you listen on Spotify or iTunes. That would help us out dearly. So we thank you to everyone who takes 2 seconds to do that, because it helps the podcast grow, helps us keep putting out this killer content. Now we're going to take a few seconds to learn and discuss our client shoutout this week, someone who's been in the program, crushing it, who's achieved their transformation. So who do we got, Kyle?
So this week we actually have Justis, and he did some incredible things within coaching, and I just wanted to share some of his tips. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can actually see a photo of him. He just absolutely got jacked, lost some body fat, and that's just in 12 weeks. It's honestly amazing what you can accomplish in a 12-week time frame. But some of his biggest tips, I really like number 1. So we always say, hey, what's your biggest tip that can help more people? And he said, have the accountability through online coaching. So obviously having that guidance, having that support, just those weekly check-ins, everything that we're actually going to be talking about in just a bit. But his number 2 tip really stood out to me, saying, have a quote to live by, TNT. And that stood for today, not tomorrow. And I really like that. I've never heard TNT, but I think he maybe put that together. And I was just like, man, that's so powerful, because it's so easy to be like, oh, well, I'll get my workout in tomorrow, my cardio tomorrow, I'll update my sheet tomorrow, all that stuff. But he really lived by the principle of, I'm going to do it today. Even just a principle I always talk to my clients about is, can I give myself a check mark at the end of the day for accomplishing everything? For my protein, my cardio, my calories, all that great stuff, and just aim to give yourself 1 day at a time. Check mark, check mark. By the end of the week, you get 7 check marks. That's phenomenal. That's absolutely amazing. Even if you get 6, that's still, well over 80%, which is phenomenal. But yeah, just wanted to give a shout out there. Amazing stuff. And if you are looking to lose fat, summer is coming up so quickly. We know so many of you, we get tons of these messages. Take that leap. Send us a message with the keyword fat loss to our Instagram at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. We have 3 spots available, discounted rate. You do not want to wait till tomorrow. Similar to what Justis said, today, not tomorrow. Send us that message. We will take care of you, I promise. And we can't wait to help some of you awesome people out.
And this is a fantastic time to reach out with that keyword fat loss to our Instagram, because you can jump in on the second part of this challenge. We're going to allow 3 people to jump in a little bit late, take the advantage. And for you, it's going to be a 30-day immersive to help you advance forward. And then we'll have 60 days past that in the accelerator to build your best body for the summer. And the best part is you're going to be shredding alongside me and Kyle, getting after it, and we can't wait to help you out. So once again, the keyword is fat loss to us on Instagram, to at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. Now into the question. So the first one's a doozy. It's a big one, but it's a really good one. So the question is, what is the best diet for fat loss? And what is the best diet for fat loss and for me to stick to for the rest of my life? There are many types and it's overwhelming. I've heard keto is the best. So this is a big loaded question. What is the best diet? What is the best diet to stick to? And is keto the best? So we're going to break this down by first talking about keto. We've spoken about it before, and it seems like more and more science is coming out supporting the positives of keto. So let's start with what it is. So Kyle had some amazing jot notes on this. I'm just going to go ahead and read off them here. So Kyle wrote down, when following a keto diet, the goal is to reach ketosis. In this state, your body will produce ketones from fat in your liver and use the fat as its main fuel source instead of carbs. So instead of glycogen, your body actually converts the ability into using ketones, which is amazing because you can actually get away without the need for carbs, and your body can work on a more unique type of energy source, which is really awesome. So, but the caveat here is to achieve this, you need to consume less than 50 grams of carbs a day while keeping protein intake moderate. So 50 grams is ridiculously low, just so you know. It's like 1.5 bananas for reference. So if you're on keto and you're like, oh, I just have a little bit of rice and bread, you're probably not on keto. Like keto, getting into ketosis is a serious deal. It takes a good bit of time, and that is the first thing to keep in mind. There's a big buy-in to this diet, and there are a lot of positives. There's therapeutic benefits. It can actually manage epilepsy, which is unique, and it's been really cool to see that it actually has some positive effects. I was listening to a podcast that actually can help delay Alzheimer's with people that have it. It can minimize that memory loss, and that's a whole rabbit hole, but it's a very unique application. It can reduce your appetite. You can have more focus. It can improve your cholesterol and triglyceride levels. So you might say, what the heck? This helps people with Alzheimer's. This helps people with epilepsy. Why are you guys not on the keto diet? What are you doing? And I heard the best analogy for this ever from Dr. Peter Attia. I've mentioned before, I'm listening to his book on longevity. And he said, a cast on your arm is phenomenal for healing a broken bone. Something's wrong with you, it addresses it, it heals it, it makes it stronger. It's wonderful. If you put a cast on an arm that isn't broken, that isn't hurting, you're actually going to cause it to atrophy. You're going to cause more damage to it. It's actually going to become way, way worse. And this is the same with this style of diet. To me, it's a very particular diet that might be incredible for a very small substrate of people. Not many people can adhere to this. For me, there's no way in the world I'm eating less than 50 grams of carbs. That is very hard to adhere to. You got to order super special, and there are potential drawbacks that come alongside it. So like, unless this is something, I have clients who are like, I've done keto, I like keto, I can adjust to this, I've done this for years, I have no problem. Power to you, that's totally fine. But 9 out of 10 people, in my opinion, should not be on keto. It's a little too intense. And to the question of what is the best diet, it's the one you can stick to. Science has shown that just being in logging your calories, having a moderate amount of protein, being in some form of calorie restriction. So it's not about being restricted, it's being at maintenance or below maintenance where you're not consistently putting on weight is the healthiest state for you. So whatever you can do to achieve that is best. If you think of things like paleo, Mediterranean, these big umbrellas, they're just kind of classifying and removing select groups of food, and you're really just doing an elimination diet at that point. Instead, it's better to learn a healthy relationship, and that's why we like flexible dieting. And you can still do elimination diet in that. I'm lactose intolerant, I don't eat much dairy, I feel the best with that. That's great for me. Is Kyle lactose intolerant? No. Does he need to have lactose products? Absolutely not. He should take advantage of them. Just the same, if bread for whatever reason bloats me, I feel horrible, I don't like it, I don't need to eat as much bread. Kyle, it makes him feel powerful, he works out harder, power to him. And that's why we're all so unique. Going back to my talk earlier, different foods will make us feel different ways. And the more you can work on that relationship, the better off you'll be. Obviously, cleaner of a diet, the more satiety you'll feel. But the main thing everyone agrees on is protein is key. You do want to make sure you are getting in enough protein because there are a ton of benefits for that. And then there are just negatives of the keto diet. I do want to jump into that just in case you're like, oh, you said only positives. So with that, your body isn't able to store carbs in the muscle to use as fuel because it's depleted since you're not consuming them. It isn't a magic diet. You need to be really dialed into that diet, which is incredibly restrictive and can be very hard to adhere to. You can actually there isn't a ton of long-term data. Constipation is a problem. And unfortunately, a lot of people will end up consuming not the best foods to achieve these numbers. So they'll get a lot of their fat sources from more dangerous sources like trans fats, as well as really, really dense foods and saturated fat. Saturated fat by itself isn't horrible either, but we're talking about extremes. Too much of anything is bad. So that is my best way to break down a very complicated question. I hope that was helpful.
That was so well said. And it reminds me like there's so many people out there that already struggle to stick to just eating healthy, for example, or just like counting calories, like just these different things. And to add on an extra layer for like something that, of course has a few benefits, as Josh mentioned, but a lot of drawbacks. Like there's an individual I follow, King Keto on Instagram. I like his business content and what he says, and he's awesome for it. Like it works for him. He's got a great physique. He's someone who brings his food scale to every single restaurant. He'll post all his photos of him like just getting rid of the carbs, giving it to his significant other, like whatever. But like he is insane. Like he's just very disciplined. Like there, but I'd say for most people, like just it's not worth it. And also at the same time, just you can't even follow a specific protocol like to eat healthy or to track things, and then you're adding this extra layer. And I think for most people, if you are looking to go down that like keto type route, you could maybe just try to experiment with like lower carbs, maybe keep it like between 50 and 100 and something. And that will obviously vary. If you're someone who's used to having 400 and you drop it right down, that's not going to be as ideal. If you're used to 200 and you want to try to see how you feel and you want to increase your protein, bring your fat up a little bit, give it a shot. I find a lot of people feel better in that range versus having like more carbs and less fat, but just experiment. And I just honestly don't think that the all or nothing approach, once again, like Josh said, I'd say every 1 or 2 out of every 100 people, it kind of makes sense. But that was very well said. So I'm glad he shared all that great info.
Experimentation is key. Like Kyle said, even for me in high school, I used to love having 400 to 600 grams of carbs, which is a ton. I felt amazing. I looked amazing. It worked. Now that I've gotten a little bit older, I just find I don't need as much of that. And that's just me personally. I know people that are even more sedentary than me have a ton of carbs and feel great. But like I said, everybody's so different. That's where experimentation is key. The more you can play around with things, the better you will feel. And having that flexibility is something you can do long term. The best diet is the thing you can see yourself doing consistently for the longest. Once you actually change that mindset to like, what could I do for a week, 3 weeks, a month, and you start to say, what could I do for a year? What could I do for the rest of my life? What can I do to actually have a healthier relationship with food? And one of the best things anyone can do is just cook a little bit more, double down on the protein and the vegetables. You'll feel so much more satiety. You'll just feel just better in general. You'll have more energy, and it will just be easier to regulate that amount of food. So I think that was a really good add-on from Kyle. So instead of needing to jump to something like keto, you could start there. And then if you're like, no, I'm totally cool with this, I don't even like carbs anyways, I want to experiment with ketosis, or keto rather, to achieve ketosis, you can go ahead and try it. But that power is to you. But I will say these things that are very limited come very hard. You go on a vacation, you're in Europe and you're trying to find keto sources, doesn't work. You break the keto, you don't get the benefit. And those are the people that will lose a lot of weight. They'll gain it all back, and they won't want to make that switch to doing that really difficult protocol. And it becomes this vicious loop of losing, gaining. So instead, work on evaluating that just relationship in general. So now into the second question: is personal training or online coaching better?
So I'm going to start off and just say online coaching 100%. And I'm not just saying it because, that's what we do. Although everything we do has a reason. Like there's a reason we've decided to go all in on online coaching and get rid of personal training. And as you guys listen to us always talking, like everything we do is like thought out. It's not like you just say, oh, you know what, let's just try it out. It's like, no, there's a reason it works. There's a reason that we do it. And it's 100% better. But a lot of times people will say, hey, did you just get into it when COVID started? Like that's what a lot of online coaching, a lot of online coaches did. We've actually been doing it for about 8 years now. Josh started it. I'm so grateful for it. And the reason he started it was because a lot of people were asking for workouts. They needed some help and they just, wanted some extra support. So we started putting them together and, we realized that we were onto something. And when it comes down to personal training versus online coaching, to me, online coaching, the benefits are endless. It ends up being significantly cheaper. You can do it on your own time. You don't have to set up an appointment with someone, to meet up with them in person. And you actually genuinely get better results. So personal training, I'd say for some people, if you are looking for hand holding and if you're looking for if you can't work out by yourself and you need that person there, go for it. That's awesome. Good for you. But for most people right now, especially after helping over 3,500 people, they need some extra support. They need some extra guidance. They want something that's going to be cheaper than $100+ an hour, per workout. And they want to get results. And so what we realized was online coaching was able to provide that. And we've actually been able to cover every single loophole that you could imagine. It's like, oh, well, I need help with my form. Awesome. We offer unlimited form checks for anyone who wants some support there. So we're able to make sure sure that you're doing everything comfortably and everything properly. Oh, I need some help in nutrition. Awesome. We have spreadsheets. We've made up every single ebook. We send out 5 ebooks when someone signs up to help them with supplements, to help them understand how to eat on the go. And I'd say with personal training, the one downside, like we've done it before, we've done it for years. And I would say, speaking to every personal trainer that we've ever known, it's also harder to get people results nutritionally, and even this where it gets tough is personal trainers, you're only there for, let's say, 2 hours out of the week. So we started to add in a lot of the online component for some of our personal training clients and realize, hey, online is amazing because you can be there for someone every single step of the way. So honestly, it's absolutely phenomenal. Like Josh said, and like I said earlier, we are looking to take on 3 people who are looking to take it to the next level, get some incredible results. Send us that message with the keyword fat loss, give it a shot. You're going to be absolutely blown away. If you like the free stuff, you're going to absolutely love the paid stuff, and we're excited to help some of you people out.
Yeah, personal training is phenomenal. It's amazing. Having someone there, it's a premium service. They're putting on your weights, they're telling what to do. You show up at a certain time, all done for you, all amazing. The problem, big price tag. Nowadays, about $100 an hour, give or take, especially for a good trainer. Trainers, unfortunately, fade really bad in my experience because if you're there for 8 hours, you're counting reps, you'll see them start being on their phone. You'll see good and bad trainers in this sense. And it's really dangerous in that regard because you're not going to, eventually you can kind of get to this point of complacency where someone just counting your reps, you end up talking for like 30 minutes of the workout and both people are kind of happy because the person's not being pushed that hard and the trainer doesn't have to work that hard. And that causes the person not to get those results that they want and they can be discouraged. And me and Kyle see this too often. Past that, my other biggest qualm with personal training, if you will, is that it's really reliant on having someone there to tell you exactly what to do, to set your weights, to show you how to do it, to fix your form. This is good, especially at the start. This is an amazing thing to have. But long term, you don't want to have someone there every time you want to work out. What happens if you're in a different city? Your trainer moves away. When are you going to learn to do it yourself? And that's where having an online coach is phenomenal. That's having someone to hold you accountable, to program for you, to really get rid of the nitty gritty annoying stuff, but you still know, okay, this is what a leg press is. This is how I should do it. I could film it for my coach if I need to, or my form feels great. I'll continue on. And this is a really healthy way to have that oversight. And that's why it's just amazing to have. And I would never get rid of it myself. Having Kyle to look over things, having the other coaches for me is just amazing. Like being a client myself as well as a coach is just the best thing ever because it allows me to not go complacent. It allows one to know other people are looking at my stuff. They're making sure I'm in the best position. And when it's our own relationship, like with ourselves, it's easy to make drastic decisions. My weight didn't lower this week. I'm cutting the calories by 1,000. We do something really silly. We lose all our strength. We don't feel good. Or we overtrain ourselves and hurt ourselves, so we're doing a routine that's not addressing our weak points or deficiencies, and we're getting net worse than net positive. And that's where having an online coach is just the best thing. It's a fraction of the cost, and it's a 360 view. You're getting help in every area, not just with your workout. So Kyle crushed that one there. I could not agree more, and this is a phenomenal question. Then last but not least, how much protein should I be eating? I'm going to give you the simplest answer here. The best answer is about 1 gram per body weight. That is the simplest metric in my opinion. People are going to go nuts about this. Someone always says, well, that's not this and that. Time and time again, it's been shown that protein is just a really powerful nutrient. And for you to have excessive amounts, you need to be having a ridiculous amount, like 3 grams per body weight, for it to actually be net detrimental to you. No one's going to get up to that without being absolutely ridiculous and over trying. It's good to have the protein. It's going to make you full. Your body can use it. It's going to help you maintain muscle, maximize energy. Try and get to that gram per body weight. It's a really good place to be. If you're not there yet, even if you can get to like 0.8 per body weight, that's at least a good starting place. But I recommend being at least that gram, if not a little bit more if you can, to 1.1 to 1.2 grams. It's a really good place to be, and in general, protein is going to be your friend. It's going to help the journey. I'm just going to keep it simple there because there's a million considerations each which way, but that's about where you want to be. So aim for that, you'll be set. So we thank everyone for tuning in today. It was a fantastic episode. If you loved it, please let us know. You can message us on Instagram, leave a review, or drop that comment gains if you're part of the YouTube gang. That means a lot, but that's it for this week. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.